Okay. And members of the jury, I'm going to give you another instruction at this point in time. The videotape that you as the jury have been seeing most recently this morning was provided to Mr. Kowalski's family attorney in the dependency action on November 17th, 2016. The jury is instructed to disregard Mr. Kowalski's statement that the video would have made a difference to the extent that that statement applies on or after November 17th, 2016 in the dependency action. To be clear, defendant Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital cannot be held responsible for the court orders entered in the dependency action. You may continue, Mr. Anderson.
As the court has related, the video was taken October 18th through 20th. Now, on or before that date, did they tell you in any way, shape, or form that they intended to do a video surveillance in a separate room of this nature?
No.
And if they had, would you have consented or not consented?
I would not have consented.
Did the hospital tell you at any time in October 16 that they had taken a covert video of your daughter over 48 hours in mid-October?
Objection. This states that.
Overruled.
No.
If the hospital had told you about the video before November 8th and 10th, what would you have done in terms of objection? Would you have objected to this video going outside the hospital?
Yes.
All right. So in reviewing this video, when you finally did get to view it, did it affect you emotionally to see this happen?
Yes.
And knowing your wife, would it have affected her?
Definitely yes.
Okay. Now, let's continue, if we might, on the lesion photographs. We were at 2571-001. All right, you recognize this photograph?
I do.
And what is it of?
It's a lesion.
Approximately when did you take this photograph?
There's a date on the bottom, 10/8/2016.
All right, let's go to 2571026. All right, so 2571026, what is this a photo of?
It's a photo of Maya. And there's some lesions. I see one on the forehead and maybe on her left knee there.
All right, let's go to 2571-030. And what do these reveal?
There's more lesions, right and left hand, and then also her forehead.
So this is as of December 24th, before Christmas?
Yeah, Christmas Eve of 2016.
2571-053. So this is of a date some, 2 weeks before, no, a week and a half after?
Yes.
And is this the same lesion, unhealed, that appeared in the prior photo?
That is correct.
How long would it take a lesion to heal if they did?
Objection. Foundation. Call.
He can observe.
Overruled.
I honestly don't know how long it takes to heal. I think Dr. Chopra mentioned that, but I'm unaware.
And then let's look at 2603. And that one is from, looks like, well, that's date of admission. Do we have a date on this one? Yeah.
It's January 1st,
2017. It's in the handwriting.
So, there you go.
That's another lesion.
Okay. And we'll ask about that in a moment. And then 2604. And is that another lesion?
Yes, it is.
All right. So the lesions that you saw there, were they in existence, to the best of your knowledge, prior to January 7th of 2017?
Objection to the leading room.
Overruled.
There was lesions. I did document it in my notes, along with taking some pictures and also advising the staff.
Okay. I'm informed 2604 has 8 photos. Let's continue on with those. Now, that last photo and this photo, looking at the pants and the situation, do you know who took these photos?
I was going to say that's not mine.
Okay.
I don't believe so.
All right, continue. And continue. And is that a lesion on her hand?
That is a lesion on her hand, yes. Left hand.
All right, continue.
Lesion on the forehead.
Continue. Now, are you familiar with this photograph?
Recently, yes.
At the time, did anyone tell you that they were going to take off some of your daughter's clothing to try to check her for lesions?
No.
And the prior two photographs, having seen this one, were they photographs of your daughter in this series?
Yes.
Continue to the next one. Well, first, do you see, you can only see half of her face there. But knowing your daughter, what is her reaction here that she's showing?
It's hard to see her whole face, but looking at her lips, she doesn't seem happy with what's going on here.
All right, next photo. And now she's down to what, a training bra?
That is correct.
So, did you ever give Kathy Beatty or anyone at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital permission to strip your daughter and take photos like this?
No.
Next, please. Is that the last?
That's the next one.
Okay. And then did we cover 2603 or no, 2604?
This is 2604 dash 8.
All right. So, make sure we've got them all in. When was the first time you learned that your daughter had had this happen to her?
It was around the time after, I believe, she went to court in December or January. I don't know exactly what month.
Okay. Did it turn out that this was the day she was to go to court?
Yes, it was. She was going to be evaluated by Dr. Duncan.
And again, did anyone call you and ask you about this?
No.
Let's show the remaining photos in 2604. Continue. Continue. Now, hold on there. Go back. Do you notice her hand there?
I noticed her hand and then also the arm. You could see discoloration in it. If you go back one more picture, I believe it shows the arm. See that by the elbow area?
Mm-hmm. And what did that correspond to with your experience with your daughter?
We were told that's a typical sign of CRPS.
And let's go back to the hand. Next photo. And the next photo. Continue on. Do you know if these were taken in her room or someplace else?
I was somewhere in the hospital.
Continue. See the knuckles? Go back a little, and that one too. You have a lesion there right below the knuckles.
That is correct.
Are the knuckles red?
Yes.
Tell the jury what that indicates to you, knowing what you know about your daughter's condition.
Another sign of CRPS.
When she had these, did it indicate that she was having a flare-up?
Objection, called foundation.
Overruled.
A flare-up, and associated with these lesions, there's extreme pain to the lesion itself.
So when someone would grab her hands in these videos, can you tell the jury the reaction you have seen your daughter have when they touch those lesions?
It would cause extreme pain.
Next photo. Notice the knees.
Yes, I do.
What does that tell you?
If you didn't know that she had CRPS, you might think they were rubbing against something, but that's a sign of CRPS.
Right. Next photo. And what does that indicate?
That's inward rotation on her feet. That's called dystonia.
Next photo. So here they are pulling up her shirt. Did you ever give them permission to touch your daughter in this way?
No.
Next photo. I can't tell anything about this one. Is there anything we should be looking at?
Not that I see.
Let's continue on.
It's the final photo of the exhibit.
Now, having looked through the photos, can you tell the jury your reaction the first time you saw these?
Okay. I was extremely upset. She's in the hospital. Later, I found that it was against her will. That Kathy Beatty stated that that's the only way she's going to go to the courtroom is to get the pictures taken prior to her.
Objection to the first of that.
It's party admission.
Overruled.
Did Kathy Beatty say anything about that you know about whether Maya would be able to see her mother?
That I don't recall.
We should ask Maya on that one.
Yes, ask Maya.
All right. So they're talking about these symptoms, not these symptoms, but they're talking about, strike that. Did they ever discuss with you their belief that your daughter was suffering from some sort of psychological disorder?
Objection to the foundation, that they.
Let's be a little bit clearer with our pronouns.
Did any of the psychological or psychiatric doctors there tell you that they believed your daughter had some psychological problem?
Yes.
And who were those, do you recall?
I am very bad with names with doctors.
Let me see if I have. Okay. Did it come to pass that you were trying, well, once you heard this, did you want to talk to them and question them about it?
I tried at one point to talk to the Dr. I'm going to bosh her name, I'm sorry, Kattenstein.
That's it.
I did see her in the hallway. She approached me. She was nervous. She was looking around. She says, I should not be talking to you. I would like to talk to you, but I should not be here. And she's looking around. And she said she has to talk to both sides of both attorneys before she could talk to us.
Well, was your daughter in part under the care of Dr. Katzenstein?
She was, and I still had my patient rights.
And so,
Or not
she ever
patient
tell
rights,
you-
rights for my child, I'm sorry.
did she ever explain in any way, shape, or form why they thought that this was occurring or what reasons they had.
She didn't explain it to me. She was just nervous looking around. She did provide me with her card with her cell phone number on there. But she instructed that, or it told me that she has to talk to both sides before she could talk to me.
Well, who was the other side? Do you know?
Well, it would be my legal, Deborah Salisbury, and then the hospital side.
Okay. Now, did any of the other physicians, strike that, who brought it up first to say that Maya was somehow faking this?
That'd be a good question for Maya, because Maya was told by many people.
In the hospital?
Yes.
All right. Did it come to your attention that the nurses there were telling her that she did not have this?
Yes.
Did you learn that Maya was having difficulties even speaking to her separate counsel now, having difficulty speaking to her separate counsel?
Yes.
What was the problem there?
Normally, I don't want to get stuck with hearsay here.
Well, you give it a shot. I'm sure they'll let you know.
Yeah. She advised me when she was speaking with her attorney, Kathy Beatty, be outside the room with the door open, right next to the door.
Right. And during the attempted phone calls with Maya and between Maya and your wife, were you witness to or in the room when Ms. Beatty would, not the hospital room, but I'm talking about more at home, when Ms. Beatty would interrupt?
Most of the times, no, I was not. I did hear from Beata, and I also heard from Maya that was an issue.
And what was the problem?
Foundation in person.
Sustain that one.
And so were you having difficulties communicating with Maya, the best of your attempts, because of Ms. Beatty?
I had difficulty, but I didn't have as much difficulty as Beata did.
And how is that affecting her, not being able to, or having her attempts to speak with her daughter interfered with?
It destroyed Beata.
So now, you previously testified that Ms. Beatty asked you or suggested to you or asked to you whether you should just divorce Beata?
She asked me if I ever considered it, which was a very odd question, just come up with something like that.
All right. And have you since learned that Ms. Beatty took your daughter to the chapel there at the hospital?
Object to the hearsay.
It's in evidence.
Madam Court Reporter, can I have that question back, please?
Question, all right, and have you since learned that Ms. Beatty took your daughter to the chapel there at the hospital?
It's in Beatty's depot.
Well, I'm not sure where it's coming from, so I'm going to sustain the objection. You can see if you can get it a different way.
Did your daughter ever tell you that Kathy Beatty took her down to the chapel?
Same objection.
No, that's a statement of present condition.
I'm going to overrule that.
Yes, she has.
And did she tell you what the purpose was?
She stated that they went in the chapel and Kathy Beatty would talk to her in there.
Talk to her about what?
Same objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
There was one point that she said that she could adopt her, that she could be her mother while she's there at the hospital. Just all different things. Mom's in getting mental health, help, I'm sorry. Just all different things. stroking her hair, kissing her.
Did Maya complain to you that Miss Beatty was hugging her inappropriately?
Objected hearsay.
Statement of then President.
Can I have that question again, please?
Question, did Maya complain to you that Miss Beatty was hugging her inappropriately?
Okay, I'm going to sustain that one.
Did you understand from Maya that Miss Beatty was making Maya believe some, strike that. Did it come to your attention that other employees besides Miss Beatty were making similar statements?
Object to the hearsay, Your Honor.
Didn't it?
I agree with Mr. Shapiro on that one.
Now we'll ask Maya. All right. So what you testified to before, just now, about the chapel and the things that she said, did you let Piata know about that?
Yes,
What was the effect on your wife?
she was
when
irate.
To what?
She was irate.
So this was, I think, the photos show towards the end of Maya's stay, and also the record reflects that your wife took her life the evening of when?
It was January 7th, January 8th.
So these photos were taken, were they taken in close approximation to her?
Very close.
Objection, Your Honor. Foundation, and I would approach on this, yeah.
Objection sustained.
During some of your visits, did you see Maya being mistreated?
No.
Did you see
Not
the
that I know of.
nurses taking any action that you would describe as cold or unusual?
No, there was just incidents where I wasn't allowed to leave a computer, or they wanted her passwords for her social media, things like that. Nothing physical that I could think of. There was a nurse that she liked a lot, but I didn't see anything. You know, I felt that they were cold to me because the situation, like I felt like I was a bad person when I walked in there all the time.
And so now, when you learned of the various things the hospital was doing in terms of the photographs and the video, did that cause you mental distress?
Objection, foundation of predicate.
Overruled.
It sure did.
And can you describe it to the jury why this was so upsetting to you?
It's so upsetting because I have to go home, and then that's happening, and there's nothing you could do. If I snap, I'm going to lose my privileges. It was very difficult for me to hold it in.
Again, object and move to strike based on the time frame.
Now,
Overruled.
did you tell Beata about this?
I did.
Objection, again, hearsay and the time frame again, Your Honor. This is,
Obviously, it's from that.
Well, let's try to be better with our pronoun usage.
Did you tell Beata, about what we just talked about when I said this, the photographs that had been taken of her, the video that had been taken of her?
objection, misstates evidence.
Okay, overruled. You can answer that.
Yes, I did. I did tell her.
And what was her reaction that you saw?
Same objection.
Overruled.
She had the same reaction I had. As a parent, I think any parent would have that reaction.
Did you feel powerless?
Yes, I did.
And how did that translate in terms of your behavior?
my behavior, I was very upset at home, but when I went there, I had to hold it in.
Are you by nature a fairly stoic person?
I'm usually very calm.
You try to hold things in?
Yes, a lot's held in.
How about Beata? Was she that way?
Not as much as me. You know, she would let you know how she feels.
And then when you told her, can you describe for the jury that mental distress that you observed, everything you saw, heard?
Objection, hearsay, predicate, and foundation.
Overruled. You can answer.
I'm sorry, could you repeat it again?
From everything you perceived about your wife, how upset was she when she found out that her daughter was being treated this way?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
It was extremely difficult for her. It was taking all the air out of her balloon. I mean, you could see that it was just eating at her. She lost a lot of weight during this time.
Through the course of December, how was Beata doing? Was she stable, not stable, moving down, moving up, what?
Beata was still functioning what she had to do, but it was really difficult for her.
How were you two getting along?
Oh, it drove a wedge between us. You know, I'm trying to, to do both, go to the hospital and then try not to bring it home and tell her everything, where it would hurt her. I'm not intending to hurt her with the way her daughter's being treated, but she needs to know.
Well, did she pump you for information when
She would ask me, and then at times I believe she was talking with the hospital as well, but not getting full answers on treatments and that. So that would interfere and make it worse for her as well, stress-wise.
Were you worried about her mental condition through this period of time?
I was always worried about her. Yeah.
Over this period of time, now we're talking about after you learned about the video 18th and 20th and these photographs, did you have some physical symptoms from this distress?
Objection again to the time frame, predicate, foundation.
I just said it.
Okay. Well, let's be a little bit clear about the time frame, but otherwise overruled.
After you learned of the November 18th to 20th videos and the photographs that were being taken of your daughter and of the manner in which she was being treated overall, did you have any physical signs of distress?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Okay, overruled. You can answer that.
Yes, I did.
Tell us what they were.
Number one, anger, loss of sleep, just wasn't myself. Diarrhea. I mean, it takes a lot out of you, the stress.
What happened to your weight?
Same objection, Your Honor, for time frame.
We're talking about this. Are we talking about in the same time frame?
That is correct, I believe.
Okay, overruled.
And then, did you experience in this same time frame we have defined any symptoms of nausea?
I had nausea. Like I said, I had diarrhea. When I get a lot of stress, it's hard for me to digest food, things like that as well. Sleep, lack of sleep, big time.
Tell us about the sleep. Like, how long do you usually sleep without this level of stress? Compare that to what was going on at this time. That is from the period of your daughter going in and after you learned about the video and the photographs.
Later at the end, it was a lot less. I was extremely stressed out. I was concerned for Maya. I was concerned for Beata and Kyle. Knowing Beata was still trying to do research and things like that, she was up more, and sleep and being nervous and things like that was extremely high.
And then there was the evening that Beata took her life.
Yes.
Before we get into that, I'd like to explain a little bit about the billing that was going on by Johns Hopkins to who was your health insurer at that time?
At that time, I believe it was Aetna Insurance, and that was through Beata's work.
And then did you ever have the opportunity to go over these records to see what they were, obviously, what you were being billed for these services?
Predicate and foundation and time.
Overruled.
At that time, Beata managed the bills, but she would inform me that they were astronomical.
Mr. Anderson, just in the next 10 minutes or so, let's try to find a good breaking point for lunch.
With the court's permission, I'll just end with this Aetna billing. Just a few more questions.
Whatever you want, just within the next 10 minutes.
Right. All right. So when was the first time you had an opportunity to go through that billing? Best of your memory.
Well, after she passed, I had to go on to Cobra through her work. And they
What's
allowed
Cobra?
me to...
I think everybody knows, but what is Cobra?
Cobra, it's just I was able to stay on that program for a certain time period with the same benefits, but I would have to pay in place of the employer paying most of the premium. So it jumped up significantly.
You remember approximately how much?
I'm guessing it's probably in the area of $1,300. I could be wrong on that.
A month.
That is correct.
And have we put those records in evidence?
Yes, whatever I had and obtained, I gave to you guys.
Okay. So then, did you learn that some of the, or most of the entries there, strike it, how did you learn that most of the entries there were for CRPS?
Objection, foundation, predicate, and the state's evidence.
You know what he's saying?
Sustained.
Did you review the records to see what exactly you were paying for through Aetna, or what Aetna was paying for you?
After some time, there was some for charges for CRPS during that time period.
And did you ever determine what percentage of those billings were for CRPS?
I don't recall the percentage.
Okay. All right. And so what happened then after or during this period of time, every time that they billed Aetna for a procedure that they did not do, did that go on your deductible?
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled.
Yes, it did. And then eventually it was, we met our deductible, unfortunately, with all the bills.
And did you have to pay in after that?
There's a lien still today on
How many?
some bills. I honestly don't know, but it's a significant amount of money.
That you owe and on some contingencies?
Objection, it's both leading the state's evidence.
Sustained.
Foundation.
We'll come up with something on that. So once the deductible was reached, did you have to pay out of your own pocket the co-payments?
Once the deductibles met, no, I don't believe at that time we had to pay, unless if you're talking about a copay, something small.
Yes.
I believe we had something, but
All right. Approximately what was a copay per visit? Approximately.
I honestly wouldn't even know.
Okay. All right. That evening, well, let's break right here.
So lunchtime?
Lunchtime.
Okay. Kowalski, just wanted to remind you, you are still under oath, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson, you may inquire.
May it please the court. Mr. Kowalski, we began, we were on the topic generally of the health insurance, I'd like to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 2017. And for the record, that's the Aetna health insurance records. And we want to start there with page 699er. So that's 2017-699 trial exhibit. All right. Now, have you seen these before, generally?
Some of them, yes.
And best of your knowledge, the entire records and evidence you provided to us?
Yes.
Okay. Let's look at how we read these. Across the top, there's a claim ID. Do you see that?
Yes.
And the date received, what's the date there?
Date received, not the run date, correct?
Correct.
I'm sorry, 10/19/2016, 1/6.
All right. October 9th, 2016. So can you go down there past number of services 1 to charge submitted?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's go down to the diagnostic code. Do you see that?
The POA code?
Yes, right under the number 1 there.
Yes. You want me to say it?
Yes.
No, complex regional pain syndrome. Then an I, comma, unspecified.
All right. And to the left of that, there is a code. Can you read
Diagnosis code?
that? Yes, the diagnosis code.
G is in George, 90.5D is in David.
All right. I'll ask you to then take a look at trial exhibit 2017. Yes, 2017-663. Do you have it there?
Yes, I do.
And let's enlarge it a little bit so everybody can see. Okay.
Yes.
Now, first, what was the date of this? The date received?
Date received is that supposed to be 08, I would imagine, November 8th, 2016.
All right.
Almost
And-
looks like a D.
I see. And then under the charge submitted, how much?
Charge submitted, $10,679.
Amount paid then?
5,005, is that 80.24?
All right. And then who submitted it there under provider name?
I
Right.
object to the foundation of the meeting in the reading of the record.
On this one, I'm going to overrule it.
The provider name is Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital.
All right. So if you go down there to the POA code, which is down about a third of the way, do you see it there?
Yes,
With
I
the
do.
diagnosis code. What is the diagnosis code?
Complex regional pain syndrome, and then that's the I other specified site.
Got it. Now, let's go to,
Mr. Anderson, I apologize. What was the exhibit number?
I think that,
2017 is it?
yeah, 2017.
And the page number, sir?
663.
Thank you.
All right, so let's then turn to 2017-726, if we could. Actually, no, I take that back. Let's just go directly to 729. And we're going to do the same thing again, if we could.
Okay.
Mr. Kowalski, once he comes up there, and we'll enlarge that as best we can. All right.
Received date?
Yes.
11/08/2016.
All right. And what was the charge submitted?
$50,071.
All right. And so who was submitting that?
Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital.
And there's a lesser amount shown actually paid. Is that right?
Yes, $28,039.76.
Now, Okay, let's continue on there. The diagnosis code again?
The first one would be complex regional pain syndrome, I of other specified site.
All right, let's look then to 2017-738. And,
Received date,
yep, received date.
December 6, 2016.
And who submitted it?
Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital,
And charge submitted?
$10,005.
And what is the first diagnosis that they put on there for the purposes of billing this?
Complex regional pain syndrome.
Let's go to 2017-739. And it is about halfway down the page if you start there under date received. Not the top one. but-
December 6th, 2016, and I believe that's $90,810.
Okay.
$50,853.60 was paid, and that was submitted by Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital.
And then what was the top code there?
Complex regional pain syndrome, one other specified site.
All right, well, let's go to 2017-741. All right,
Date received,
yep, start in on it.
December 6th, 2018. Charge submitted, $18,480. Amount paid, $10,348.80. Provider, Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. First code is complex regional pain syndrome.
All right, so let's go to the next page, which is 2017-744.
744?
Yes, please. Now, if you go down there to the bottom of it,
Diagnosis code?
what I'm looking for here is the provider name and provider number there at the bottom right. You see that?
Yes.
And who was the provider here?
This is that one. I'm going to mess up on her name. Jennifer Kettenstein?
Right. And what kind of doctor was she?
I believe that was the psychiatrist.
Right.
I could be wrong.
Okay. And then charge submitted?
On the bottom,
Yep.
$255.
And what-
$108.28 was
And what was the diagnosis?
complex regional pain syndrome.
Let's go then to 2017-754. And so who was the provider there from Johns Hopkins? At the bottom right.
Yes, Richard Andrew Elliott.
Now, do you recognize that as one of the doctors that, again, was a psychologist or psychiatrist
Objection.
at Johns Hopkins?
Objection, Ms. Evans.
Overall.
I think he was the anesthesiologist.
That was right. He was the anesthesiologist. And so how much did he charge?
$255.
All right. And so what are the two diagnoses there?
Well, you have chronic pain syndrome, pain unspecified, complex regional pain syndrome of the lower limb, bilateral, and
Okay.
then complex regional pain syndrome, I, unspecified.
All right. So then let's go to, and I'm almost done, 2017-767. And let's look at the date received.
Date received is January 5th, 2017.
I'm sorry, Mr. Anderson, what number was that?
Yeah, it's 767.
Thank you, sir.
And the amount charged.
$78,702. Amount paid was $44,073.12.
And who was the submitting party there?
That was Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital.
Looking down those lists, can you tell us whether complex regional pain syndrome was one of the
Yes.
codes?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Now, have you been through the records sufficiently so you can tell the jury whether, if they were to review all of these records, they would find?
Significant amount.
I object, lack of foundation.
Overruled.
There's significant amount of charges for complex regional pain syndrome.
So now, throughout these proceedings, did Johns Hopkins hold out to you and the public that Maya did not have CRPS?
Objection, mischaracterization of the evidence, lack of foundation.
Sustained.
Let me show you in evidence 24308. And specifically, this will be 003, 008, and 013.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you blow that up?
Okay. If we can start there
Okay.
at the bottom. Now, this is from your wife,
Yes.
and the date there is.
I believe it's 12/27/2016.
And what is she asking?
She's looking for the DX codes
DX means
for
that.
this, and is that Bill? It's hard to read.
Do you know whether DX is a medical abbreviation for diagnosis?
Object to the leading art.
I'm unaware of what DX was. I'm sorry.
Overruled. The answer will stand.
All right. So
I'm sorry.
let's look at the top there. There is a response.
Yes.
All right. And what's the date of the response was sent?
12/28/2016.
Right. And going down, who is it addressed to?
It was billed by Jenny Dolan to the following DX codes, and the DX code below is complex regional pain syndrome, lower limb bilateral, and then also complex regional pain syndrome. I believe that's that I unspecified as well.
So who obtained the codes to allow you to decipher this?
This here would have been Beata.
And what was that effect when you found out that Aetna was charging back your health insurer for complex regional pain syndrome?
Objection, misstates the evidence.
Sustained.
Charging Aetna. What was your reaction when you saw that the number one diagnosis put down by Johns Hopkins was complex regional pain syndrome?
It was alarming to see that because we were told she did not have CRPS.
And through your entire stay there at Johns Hopkins, can you recall them ever coming in and saying anything to the effect of, well, we've confirmed now that she has CRPS, or did they maintain constantly that she was in her head?
Objection to them primarily. Objection to the hearsay.
We're going to sustain on the first basis.
When, if ever, did any Johns Hopkins doctors come to you and explain or state that she really did have complex regional pain syndrome and it was not a mental issue?
They did not.
Through this period of time, to the best of your knowledge, did the doctors and nurses at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital continue to maintain to you that your daughter's problem was all in her head?
That was on the discharge papers that it was fictitious or conversion disorder.
Okay. Do we have that discharge notice up yet? We'll continue on. We'll come back to that. All right. In follow-up to some of the other questions, did anyone at Johns Hopkins ever explain to you why Sally Smith was in a lab coat and could gain, strike it. Did anyone from Johns Hopkins ever discuss with you Sally Smith, Dr. Sally Smith, having access to Maya's medical records on October 8th?
Yeah, objection.
You may continue, Mr. Anderson.
Your Honor. You need me to restate?
I know part of it.
Did you ever give Sally Smith, Dr. Sally Smith, any permission to access your child's medical records on October 8th, 2016?
Just to preserve objection on the same basis.
Overruled.
No.
Did you ever give Dr. Sally Smith permission to enter your child's room unsupervised?
No.
Do we have that discharge notice yet?
Yeah, it's 100. It's 1002.
Need that. Okay. This is the Johns Hopkins records 1002-0002. We could bring that up. Just the one sign.
Start on 1, finish start the first page. It's not that, but you pull on 1.
Which one?
1. There's one before it. I don't have it.
But it's on the screen. All right, let's go to the page before that, which would be 0001. It's not in the book. All right, we can enlarge this. Have you seen this before? Discharge summary?
Yes, I have.
All right. And so what's the date here?
That would be Friday, January 13th, 2017.
Now, how many days after your wife's death is this?
5 days.
Was one of the theories that your wife was controlling Maya somehow to induce her to fake her symptoms?
Objection, again, mischaracterizes the evidence, also vague as to who.
Sustained.
Was there a claim by the hospital, to the best of your knowledge, of Munchausen by proxy involving your wife?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the term Munchausen by proxy?
Yes.
And does it include, best of your knowledge, a claim of manipulation by a parent over a child?
Yes.
And in this instance, was it directed at your wife, Beata Kowalski?
Yes.
And so, how many days had your wife been, and I'm sorry about the term, out of the picture as of January 13th, 2017?
Oh, from January 7th, you said? Or 8th? I'm sorry. About approximately 5 days.
And so 5 days after is when you got your daughter back?
Yes.
Now, did you receive recommendations from Johns Hopkins about what they suggested should be done with Maya around this time?
But my understanding was they didn't want to release her to me. They wanted her to go somewhere else.
Do you know where they wanted?
I apologize, Mr. Anderson. Again, objection, and I believe this is starting to invade issues.
What issues?
Why don't you come forward? I'm going to sustain the objection.
Let's go down to the bottom of 001. I'm sorry. Yes. So you see the admission diagnosis there?
Yes.
And what does it say the admission diagnosis was?
Fictitious disorder and conversion disorder.
And then over to the right?
Over to the right, where I'm sorry.
Okay, take back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Munchausen syndrome by proxy.
Right, so this is upon admission back when?
That was January 13th, 2017.
that says for the discharge, right?
Yes.
But the admission diagnosis.
Oh, the admission?
She was admitted when?
She was admitted October 7th.
So upon admission, October 7th, do you see anywhere that Munchausen, that a complex regional pain disorder was put down as a diagnosis?
Your Honor, it misstates the record. This is referred to the second admission.
This is a speaking objection again, and I'm just asking what's on the piece of paper.
He's
Are
asking
you,
Yes.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Right. And so on the discharge diagnosis, what does it say that the discharge diagnosis was?
Where it's in, or it's highlighted?
Yes.
Discharge diagnosis, fictitious disorder, Munchausen syndrome by proxy, conversion disorder.
And is it the same as the admission diagnosis?
Yes.
And down there, do you see a secondary diagnosis?
Atopic dermatitis.
Do you know whether when Johns Hopkins did refer to your child's lesions, that was the way it was stated?
No.
I got it. Yeah. Well, this is. I'm going to find the page number, see? The 8th page of that exhibit. And that being the discharge summary at 1001. So that would be the 8th page. And it's JHACH 8511 on the bottom, if we've got that. All right. So I turn your attention to the documented medications.
Yes.
And is this Aquaphor, was that one of the topical lotions used to treat Maya's lesions?
We did not have that, I believe, in the past. That's what they discharged her with from Johns Hopkins.
All right. And acetaminophen was essentially Tylenol?
I believe so.
But let's go down to prescriptions now. I want you to count, upon discharge from Johns Hopkins, how many medications they had your daughter on.
1, 2. More than 3. I'm sorry. There's, I believe, more than 12 here. I didn't count all of them, but.
And that would be my question, is the amount that they list here as what they're discharging your daughter to take, more than 3.
That is correct.
And then look on the next page, 8512. Did they want a follow-up with Rebecca Johnson? I'm sorry, it's 008512.
Okay, I see it. Yeah. Follow up with Rebecca Johnson, yes.
And who is Rebecca Johnson?
Rebecca Johnson, she worked for Eagles Wings at the time. She's now down in Cape Coral.
And was Rebecca Johnson one of the 2 therapists that you and your family went to find some comfort from the psychological issues of this CRPS?
That is correct. And we ended up going down to Cape Coral to see her as well.
And then down to Agility Fitness, and we've heard from them.
That is correct.
And then Dr. John Wassenauer, the pediatrician.
Correct.
Okay. That's all. Okay. I want you to describe for the jury, when you finally did get Maya out of the hospital, what was her condition?
Number one, I had to pick her up alone. I wasn't able to bring my attorney with me, so I brought another person to help me. Maya was extremely weak. We put her in the back seat of the vehicle. We used all the stuffed animals she had from the hospital to help prop her up. She was very weak. Kind of remind me of a weeble. You know, she was wobbling. If we made a turn or something, she would fall over. She didn't have the strength.
Was she in better or worse condition than when she checked in?
She was in worse condition, but you should have seen the smile on her face when we were driving over the Skyway Bridge.
A lot of relief from
Yes.
getting out of there. And was her condition to the point where you were worried whether she would survive much longer in Johns Hopkins?
Yes, I was worried.
And before she passed on, was that a concern of your wife, Beata, as well?
That is correct.
Now, since your wife died, since you took Maya out of the hospital, has she continued to exhibit signs, symptoms of CRPS
Yes,
on more than one occasion?
more than many occasions.
Does she have big relapses and small relapses?
Big and small, yes.
Describe the difference.
Some she'll lay in bed, she'll cry, or she, like today, she's stating her limbs are hurting, but she tolerates pain, you know, she tries to keep going. She had one in November of 2020, I could be wrong, where she had to be hospitalized. She lost a lot of weight, and she looked very, very, very ill. She was within the hospital for a week. She had to have a feeding tube.
Does she worry sometimes about telling you how she's doing?
Yes, absolutely.
And why is that?
She don't want me to worry because, unfortunately, we cannot get that treatment to where we have an order not to.
Objection.
Sorry.
Straight mischaracterization of evidence. Yeah, and we probably do need to approach on this.
There.
Sorry.
Leaving aside that, did you have concerns of what would happen if Maya or you reported to a physician that you were using ketamine with another physician, say, to help her?
Yes.
And why is that?
Number one, her new diagnosis, conversion disorder, fictitious disorder, and also just from the previous experience.
Did you have any concern that if it appeared in her records again, you would go through this again?
Yes.
Was that the main reason then that you held off taking her back for that?
Yes.
So did Maya have to simply rely on physical therapy?
Grin and bear it, yes. Physical therapy.
And tell the jury how hard she worked at that.
Maya was determined. I'm sure you heard from the physical therapist. She's not one to give up. She inherited that from her mother with many things. She was determined. She would do a lot of swimming. She was with Kyle. That she had a partner to make it more fun. And she was determined to get out of that wheelchair, get on crutches, and then eventually crutches to walking. And I'll never forget that day as well. Wonderful.
As we sit here today, does your daughter have CRPS lesions on her legs or ankles?
Yes, she does.
And tell the jury, throughout the time that you were with Beata, did she ever exhibit any mental health problems other than anxiety over the effect of CRPS and then later the Johns Hopkins issues?
No.
One moment, Your Honor. No. Subject to recall on damages, your witness.
Dave, please.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I know you've been up there a while, but I'm going to take you back a little bit. So,
No, my new spot.
yeah. Going back to July 3rd, 2015, just so this jury's clear, there was never a physical injury that started Maya's ordeal that put her in the wheelchair, correct?
Not on that date. Like I stated earlier, there was an injury when she was in gymnastics, but we cannot pinpoint it on that.
The jury saw the video of Maya riding her bike on July 3rd in the parade. It's your testimony that that night she had some type of a panic attack over something and immediately experienced global pain. Is that true?
Not true. She didn't have a panic attack. She had an asthma attack.
Okay. So,
And she had some previous to that.
so in terms of what happened that day, once Maya had an asthma attack, she immediately had pain everywhere, not just confined to one limb, correct?
Not right away. She had difficulty breathing and then chest pain, I believe it was, in that record. I could be wrong.
Before you brought her to All Children's Hospital, you applied for Social Security disability for Maya, true?
Objection. Yeah, that's not specific.
Okay, so I'll clarify it.